Hello, good morning, friends. Myself, Dr. Vinayak. So, in the previous classes of the your syllabus in the Unit 2, you are studied the different classes of the pteridophytes. Usually, that Lycopodium, Selaginella, Marsilia, Equisedum, all these you have studied in the previous classes. That continue with the another one classes of the pteridophytes, that's a Pteris. So usually the Pteris belong to an class called Pteropsida. It is actually we call it as a true fern. The Pteropsida is called as a true fern, and usually what happens, the Pteridopsida belong to the order, that's the Filicales, and the family Polypodaceae. The example is Pteris. Pteris is a true fern. The trees consist of about 250 species in India. They are widely distributed. 250 species occurs in the world, and they are widely distributed in tropical and subtropical regions of the world. And the common species of these trees are the Pteris vetitica and Pteris crustacea and Pteris wallichiana, Pteris bioreticata, and Pteris quadrata. So these are the some common species of the Pteris. Just this is the picture how actually shows the Pteris of the plant. The plant body, that's a sporophytic body. Usually the plant body, the pteridophyte is divided into sporophyte and the gametophytic phases. The sporophytic phase is dominated. That's usually the plant body, generally referred as a sporophytic nature. The plant body consists of the mainly leafy like structures and also the rhizomes, and a single midrib will be there. And usually the main characteristic is represented with the circinate vernation. So next, going to the plant morphology of the Pteris. So usually the plant body is referred as a sporophyte, which is differentiated underground rhizomes and the aerial leaf portion. The rhizome is underground and creeping in nature, and it grows horizontally below the soil surfaces. Usually the rhizome is covered with the number of brown scaled growths, and usually they are called as a raminata. The what they are called, the colored structure of the scaly growth, they are called as raminata. They are developed from the upper surface of the rhizome. The leaves are well developed in this case of the Pteris. Especially if you take the other pteridophyte, just like Xylotum and other groups, the leaves is not well developed. But if you take the Pteris, the leaves are well developed, and the leaves are pinnately compound, distinct in nature, and usually the venation is a dichotomous type of venation. Venation commonly occurs in dicotyledonous plant, but in Pteris also you will find the venation, because the Pteris almost resembles the some characteristic of the that's the gymnosperm, angiosperm characteristics. So usually the pinnae are the small near the bases and larger towards the middle portion, and usually again it will narrow at the apex in region. When these leaves are in young condition, they will exhibit a phenomena called circinate vernation. Is nothing but the completely coiling of the young leaf. Okay, so usually below the leaf surfaces you will find the reproductive structure. Going to the anatomy of the rhizome, this very important aspects in the Pteris. That's usually the anatomical aspects. That's only you will study the anatomy of the rhizomes only. The anatomy, the TS of rhizome is shows irregular in outline surfaces. The outermost layer, that's parenchymatous region, and usually the next below that you will find the cortex region. It is differentiated in thick clerenchymatous region, and also below that you will find the hypodermis region, and inner cortex region is made up of the parenchymatous region. Outer cortex region is made up of clerenchymatous region, and the inner cortex region is made up of the parenchymatous cells. So usually stele is a major characteristic of these pteridophytes. There are common stele. That's a stele is a solenostele, and that's a dictyostele will be there. And sometime you will find the polycyclic dictyostele that will also occur in this photo itself is showing that how actually the stellar arrangement will there in the xylotum. So you sorry in the teres you will find this arrangement. Individually, stele consists of the number of meristems. The ring of peripheral emanita, they are separated, and medullary meristems will be there. And usually, you will also find some incomplete patches of the sclerenchymatous cells. And in the endodermis, that's mostly that's the innermost region. They have the capacitor thickening on the radial walls, and usually the pericycle, which may be comprising of one or two layers of the thin walled parenchymatous cells. And usually centrally you will find the xylem region will be surrounded, that is surrounded with the phloem region. So next, going to the reproduction in case of the teres. So usually the reproduction takes place by the formation of spores, and usually the teres produces the homospores. Usually commonly the teres produces the homospores. Homo means the similar kind of the spores will be, or only one kind of spores produced during their spore germination. The sori, the marginal or at the middle of the leaves, you will find the sori. These sori will be conoecious in nature. So usually that means it's continuous and present at the margin of the sporophyll. So that's why it is called as a conoecious in nature. And usually, especially in case of the teres, whatever the pinnate you will find it, the pinnatum usually find the sori, and also you will have the false indusium will be there. But in case of teres, the true indusium is absent. If you take the TS of sporophyll, so you will find some specially peculiar structures. That's a mature sporangium you can find, and mature sporangium has a long stalk with the capsule at its free end, and capsular is surrounded by the layer of jacket, and they are made up of the different types of cells. A strip of the specialized thick wall cells called as annules, and usually the annules are velical and incomplete. One third strip consists of the thin walled cells called stomium, which became the place of the dehiscence in case of the teres. That means when the spores will mature, they will be dispersed with the help of these what's the stamium, that's the stominum region. And usually they produce the 16 cells, that's the spore mother cell, produce the total number of 16 spore mother cells, and they again divide into a, undergo to the meiotic division, produce the 64 spores. And these spores will be germinate and get out and produce the new plant, that's the gametophytic phase will be present. So during the gametophytic phase, the first, that's a pro-mature thallus will be formed. It is look like a heart-shaped structure, and it's almost 16 to 13 millimeter in diameter. Usually the prothel is of one cell thickness towards the margin, and several layers of the thick cells towards the center. And the gametophyte is monoecious, and they bears the antheridia and archegonia on its dorsal surfaces. So usually each antheridia is a dome-shaped structure, and inside the jacket there is numerous of antherozoids mother cells will be produced, and each one these antherozoids mother cells produces a spirally coiled multiflagellated antherozoids will be formed. And these antherozoids are act as a male reproductive gametes. And another one is the archegonium. Archegonium is a flask shaped. They consist of the ventral canal cells, and also they will embedded in the prothallus tissue. The neck will be short, and they will produce the four rows of the vertical cells. Ventricular cells, they in a four rows, and usually they are the binucleated neck canal cells will be present. So, and they produce the egg cells. So this is the female reproductive structure. The antherozoids, when they come in contact with the egg cells, the fertilization will be takes place through the water current. At the time of fertilization, the ventricle cells along the neck canal cells undergo to the disintegrate and to become a mucilaginous mass. These mucilaginous mass present in the archegonial necks attract the free swimming antherozoids, and these more number of antherozoids are enter into the archegonium. The only one is capable to fertilize the egg, and usually the diploid zygote will be formed. Once the zygote will be formed, they undergo to the germination and develop into the sporophytic plant again. So this is how actually the complete the life cycle will be takes place in case of the Teres. The one spores will be produced, and once the spores is undergo to the germination, they form a prothallus structure. In the prothallus, that's the gametophytic phase, they produce the antheridia and the archegonia. They undergo to the fertilization to form the zygote, that is sporophytic zygote will be formed, and this zygote will be capable to produce the new thallus. So like that the complete life cycle will be takes place in case of the Teres. So this is how actually complete general account on the Teres. That's a general characteristic of Teres, classification, and the structure. That's the morphology of the Teres, and TS of rhizome, and TS of the prothallus. That is TS of the sporophyll, and the reproduction, that is the spore formation, and the life cycle of the Teres. So this is how you can understand the concept of Teres.